And how did you change the name to Lulu?
We did.
Is this a sore subject? Is there a reason I haven't asked this over the years?
No. But well, see, I never told the story. Have you heard this one before? Oh, Lord, have mercy. We may not be able to show this. I'm not
Okay,
sure. We'll
that's
see.
all
Just see how it goes, okay?
Hi friends, I'm Scott England. Buckle your seatbelts. The interview you're about to see is like no other. Hee Haw star Lulu Roman is about to lay one of the most honest and unbelievable interviews on you that you've ever seen. She laughs, she cries, she tells you how she married a guy for $1,500. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And now, Lulu Roman in her own words. Hi everyone, I'm Scott England with one of my all-time favorites, Lulu Roman. Welcome, Lulu.
Hi, thank you, Scott.
Lulu, you said this is a special anniversary for you today as we tape this.
It is. 43 years ago today, I gave my heart to Jesus. Spiritual anniversary, spiritual birthday for me.
And where and when was that?
That was in Dallas, Texas, at a church called Beverly Hills Baptist Church. And it was a spirit-filled Baptist church back in the 70s, which was extremely rare. And it was, I had met one of the kids I grew up with out in an orphan's home with, and she took me to this church. I know God just dropped me in the middle of those people. I did not realize that they knew who I was and that they were all praying for me. Okay, that would have scared me to death. And it was a remarkable occasion. It was. I went into that church. You know, I had a pretty good life of drugs before that. At that time, I was still sticking needles in my body. I was. And it took me about 24 hours to realize it. But the next day, I realized I had not had any drugs since that night before when I asked the Lord to come into my heart. And I mean, I was instantly delivered from drugs.
That day 43 years ago, did your life change totally forever, or was it a gradual thing?
No, it changed forever. That day it did. I mean, it started the next day because this was at 10:30 at night, you know, and I went home and went to bed, and by then I had my 6-month-old baby who'd been born addicted to the drugs, and they told me he was going to die. And I found myself trying to talk to that God that I didn't care for from out there at that orphan's home, and saying, you know, you'll let me have my kid, you know, I'll straighten up and I won't do what, you know, I'll do what I'm supposed to do. And you never know. God hears you. He does.
You've shared your story on stages across the country, on TV shows, radio shows. I've talked to T. Graham Brown. He says his life really, you know, he's had the hit songs and all that, but his life is now to help people, to share his story and touch those. Do you see the same in your life over the past 4 decades?
I do. I realize, or I believe with my whole heart that I was born to do what I do. And I don't mean to the Hee Haw thing was a vehicle, I believe that. But I believe I was born to get souls for the Lord. I do.
I've known you for a long time. There's me and Lulu.
Oh, look at this.
That would have been us, 1983.
Goodness, 80-something, wasn't
1983.
it? Yeah.
And we haven't changed.
Isn't that cute?
We haven't changed any.
I would say we've done a bit of changing, huh? A bit of rearranging.
I'd have been like 19 years old there.
Oh yeah, you were a little baby chicken.
And I was thrilled to meet you. That was a fanfare.
Thank you, golly.
And all these years later, and
here we are again.
And many meetings later, I'm just as thrilled as I was when I was 19.
So much. Thank you. Me too.
Now,
so that's great.
So I know quite a bit about Lulu. Now, you were once billed
the biggest go-go girl in Dallas, Texas.
The biggest go-go girl in Dallas, Texas.
And the point in fact here was that was a little off because it was Jack Ruby's nightclubs that I was being billed. as the go-go girl.
Did you ever meet Jack?
I saw him once, but I never met him. He was, by the time I got to work in the places that he had owned, he was dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were in the nightclubs, and it was in Dallas that Buck Owens discovered you. Was he in
yeah.
a go-go club?
Yeah. Oh no, he was at Dewey Groom's Longhorn Ballroom, which is, I believe, still there. I believe it's still there. And we had gone to. We had a friend way back when in Dallas. He was the Frank Sinatra of Dallas at that time, and his name was Jimmy Velvet. And we met him in the parking lot.
The Jimmy
one night.
Velvet?
The Jimmy
Oh yeah,
Velvet.
I know Jim.
And he said, "You know who's playing over here?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Buck Owens." And I said, "Okay." I was a hippie kid, honey. I was not into country music. I ate acid and ran around in water fountains, you know. But my friend Carol said, "Oh, Buck Owens!" She just went crazy. So we ended up going over there to see his show and to meet him, and we got to be good friends. He just, you know, he always told me, he said, "Lou, you're the funniest person I've ever met." And he said, "One of these days, you're going to be a big star, and I'm going to have something to do with it." And I thumped that cowboy head and say, "Keep talking, baby." You know.
Of course,
and,
he put
sure
the word in at Hee Haw when they were looking for a comedian for you.
Uh-huh.
Now, what would your life have been like if Buck had not put that word in?
I think I probably did. I do. Because I did more drugs than anybody I've ever known. I mean, I'm sure there are many, many people out there who've done a whole lot more drugs than I did. But I did, at that point in my life, I was so miserable. I didn't really care about anything. I didn't. And so I could smoke anybody under the table, or I could do, you know, whatever it was, I could do more than anybody else. I was just a miserable soul. I was.
Did you, at the time, aspire to be anything in life?
I did not. Isn't that something? I never thought for a second that I would be a singer. I did not. I guess, well, now, let me take that back. I never really, I guess what you say is dreamed of doing this or doing that. So I think you hit on the right word. I did aspire to be a comedian. I thought I would be a very large, round comedian. I never dreamed that I'd get to be a singer. I always sang in concert choir in school because I was the one person who could, hold your ears, I was the only one that anybody could ever find that could hit that note that they wanted at the end of all the concerts. You know, the
She warned us.
I'm sorry, honey. Everybody's in the floor over here. So they would have me come and be with them because I would just catch my breath and do that big long, you know. And I never really thought about singing. I didn't. That's something else that the Lord gave me. A little gal stood up in church one night and sang, "There's Something About That Name." And she sang it a cappella. And it moved me so much that it was all I could do to get in the car and get back to the house with my kid in the back of the car because I was crying so much. You know, and I finally just pulled off on the side of the road and I said, "Lord, that's what I want to do." By then I'd been eased out of Hee Haw. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't have a job, didn't know where I was going. And I just said, "That's what I want to do. I want to sing." And I had a wonderful pastor. He said, "Honey, if you want to sing, I'll let you sing." And he let me sing. And I would stand up and sing and sing and sing and sing. And I ran into one of the guys that, last I heard, he was like a district attorney in Dallas or something. And he met in the hall. And he said, at church on a Sunday night, he said, "Honey, God's really blessed you." And I said, "I know he has, hasn't he?" He said, "No, honey, I mean God's really blessed you." He said, "When you first started singing, you were awful." And he said, "You would go out of town, and Brother Howard would stand up on that platform, and he would say, 'Don't you say a word to her.'" And he just let me sing.
Wow.
So I tell people, if you're a shower singer and you aspire to be a singer, here's the deal. Cut and dried, it is. If you honor him, he'll honor you. That's it.
Getting back to the Hee Haw show,
Yes.
Is there anybody else besides Buck that you were closer to than others on the show?
Kathy Baker.
That's
Still.
all.
Still. Yeah. We haven't seen her in a couple of months because we haven't been traveling in that neck of the woods. We always go, if we go up towards New York or towards Pennsylvania, Virginia, or some of those things, we'll always stop and spend the night with Kathy or spend a day or two with her. And then Ganella, Nurse Goodbody, is one of my dear friends, still is. And, of course, Roy. And I guess the best friend I ever had there on that show, though, was Kathy.
What does Kathy do now?
Kathy works in her ex-husband's law office.
Really?
In Virginia, yes. And has done it all these years. Still does.
Wow. All right. You always... I've got my Hee Haw book here.
You got your 20-year family, photo book.
And my daughter was obsessed with the show Hee Haw when she was like 4 or 5, 6 years old. And so I gave this to her, and she's had everybody sign it over the years. But we'll just go through here. If you could just give me like one line of your thoughts on some of the people. We won't go through everybody. But just one or two.
Clark.
Roy Clark.
So proud to tell you he loves Jesus. He really loves Jesus.
Of course, Buck discovered you. And
Buck was, bless his heart, the one who put the money on the girl. Archie, I can't say what I want to say about Archie. Archie was very, very funny. I'll tell you when the camera's off. Gordy, sharp. Sharp as a tack. Still, he's 90-some-odd years old, still out there doing his stuff. He was a fabulous writer. Wrote a lot of the stuff that we did.
You got to work with Minnie Pearl, Grandpa Jones?
Minnie was precious. Minnie was... the thing about Minnie was when she put that hat on, she became Minnie. When she took that hat off, she was Sarah Ophelia Cannon, and you didn't get no Minnie Pearl out of her. You didn't. She was very sophisticated. She was class. She was. But boy, I'll tell you what, honey, she could get country in a heartbeat. Put that hat on.
Did you have a favorite skit on Hee Haw?
I guess I would have to say there were two. I loved the Colhanes because it was just so cornball, and I loved the truck stop because not only did we get to eat food, we got to throw it, and that was fun.
And how many of those would you tape a whole season worth
Well,
in one
what they
day?
did was they did everything in segments.
Yeah.
Okay. Kathy Baker, you're going to love this, and Larry Gatlin were painting floors when Hee Haw first started. Okay. They were both college students, and every night for Hee Haw, because we did a different segment of the pieces of the show every day, they'd come in and they'd paint that floor a different color to go with whatever we're going to do the next day. And Kathy and Larry were painting floors. And where was I going with this?
They do them all in one day.
Yes, okay. We would do 13 shows at one time. They'd do 13 spots, just one right after another. And then we were the second show, okay, to be computerized in like the history of, television. Dean Martin was the first. And so what they'd do is they'd do 13 segments, then they'd change sets and do 13 segments here, and then 13 segments of another one. Then they had somebody who'd go in that editing room and they'd punch up numbers, and they would just piece shows together. So we never saw the show until the public saw the show.
Now, were you on the first season?
Yeah. I was on the first show, I was on the last show.
The first season, it was so cornball.
And
so
cornball.
It's kind of hard to watch now. But as everybody got better, and the show got better.
It got better.
When you saw it the first time, what did you think?
I was so stoned, I thought that is really bad. I had gotten all of my friends together, and we were going to smoke as much marijuana as we possibly could and watch this cornball show called Hee Haw. And there's another story connected to that, too. I'll have to tell you about that later. But in 25 years, honey, I did not see 25 shows.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Mostly because I was on the road. I was traveling. I was singing.
Have you seen them all now?
No. It wasn't my kind of entertainment. I'll tell you what's real funny, though. I came in one day, and my oldest son, Damon, was just sitting in the big chair in the house, and I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Sit down, Mom." I thought, "Oh Lord, here comes the talk. I don't know what it's about, but you know." And I said, "All right." And so I sat down, and he said, "What are you doing?" He said, "We're going to watch television." And I said, "Okay, what are we going to watch?" And he said, "We're going to watch Hee Haw." And I said, "Damon, you are out of your mind." And he said, "How many of them have you seen?" And I said, um, um, one, because we watched that first one together. So I sat there and watched the whole show with him. And when it was over with, I can remember thinking, I told him, I said, "Wow, that is so silly." And I remember now, all those years, people would say to us, "That is so silly." And Gordy, okay, is the one who came up with, we'd always say, "It's not silly, it's merely foolish." So that was the first time I had ever seen it, you know. And I really, I'll tell you the truth, okay? Television adds 25 to 30 pounds to you. I couldn't take it. I couldn't take it. I was already so big. And when I saw myself on television, like, you know, I thought, I'm not watching it.
Let's do just a couple more here. George Lindsay Goober.
George was precious, he was. When they first brought him in, people were not sure they wanted him in there with us. But he was like a well-oiled machine. He just kind of slid right in there and just took his place and went on with it. And George was a good man, he was. He was a sweetheart. Junior, love Junior. Never be another one like him, you know. People always said, was he an actor? Or was that the way it was? And I said, with Junior, what you saw was what you got. Junior was Junior. He was.
Yeah.
When we first got him, he could not read, he could not write. When he started to make a little bit of money, he had people teach him how to read and how to write. You know, I'm serious, when we first started, and they'd ask him to sign something, he'd make a big old X.
Wow. And this girl.
That one's really
Is that
messed
when
up.
you dyed your hair black? Is that what it was?
Yes.
From the red.
You want to hear? You want to hear a big scoop, y'all? Okay. I am a natural blonde. I am. You can see the hair is real light. At the orphans' home, they took us through different things. The one thing that they were really good about, outside of shoving God down your throat, was they taught you how to take care of yourself. That they did do. And so we went through different occupations that we might perhaps fall into in life. And one of them was hairdresser. And so by the time I got to Hee Haw, I'd already been past pink and blue and, you know, red and green and, you know, and I was into the black model, and I had the long, that was me. Okay, when they got me, I had long black hair that I wore in pigtails.
Yeah.
That was not their idea. That was me. That was just me. I wore the black pigtails.
I think you'd be a great hairstylist.
I think I would. Listen, I can tease hair really good.
I think you could play one on TV. And it'd
Yes.
be entertaining.
Yeah.
One thing I've never asked you before. You were born, your real name,
Excuse me.
Bertha Louise Hadler?
Bertha Louise Hable, Hable, like table with an H.
And how did you change the name to Lulu?
We did.
Is this a sore subject? Is there a reason I haven't asked this over the years?
No. But well, see, I never told the story. Have you heard this one before? Oh, Lord, have mercy. We may not be able to show this. I'm not
Okay,
sure. We'll
that's
see.
all
Just see how it goes, okay? See, I have some of the greatest stories you could ever hear in your whole life, and they're all true because I was so stupid. Dumb as a rock, okay? That's what I was. I got my education in the streets, and then I got real smart. Well, I started a minute ago when I said that's another story. I had been out of the orphans' home maybe 2 years. And the class before us, okay, I'm trying to think. the girls, okay, we all kept in touch with each other as best we could. And at that time in 60, let me think, 65, 66, something like that, 67. I'll have to look at that marriage license. Uh, this is the best story you've ever heard, honey. I promise you it is. Um, my friend had run into a pack of Filipinos, okay? And at that point, it was the in thing to do in Dallas was find you a very wealthy Filipino. Okay, they would pay you $1,500, and you get married. Okay, and then in 6 months you get a divorce, and he'd have his green card. You'd have your money. That's the way it worked. Well, she fell in love with the guy that she married, and actually stayed married to him. I don't know if she might be still. I haven't talked to her in years and years, but he had a friend, okay, that was about that tall, okay, about that big around, and his name was Jose Pizarro Roman. See where I'm going here? She said, Joey wants to know if you'll marry him, and I went, no. No. She said, he'll pay you $1,500. I said, say it again. Joey wants to know if you'll marry him. He'll pay you $1,500. I said, what's the deal? And so they told me, they were very upfront. Said 6 months you can get a divorce and he'll have his green card, and then you can, by then that money will all be gone, I'm sure. So I went for it because I was fresh out of an orphan's home and I was dumb as a rock. And $1,500 was $1 million to me, honey, it was. So everything worked out fine, and we went downtown Dallas and went to the Justice of the Peace and got married. And I said, give me my money. And that little turd stood there, and he said, oh, no. He said, you my wife. You go home, May. I said, you! Give me my money! Oh, no, you my wife. You go home, me. You! This went on for, 20, 30 minutes. So I grabbed a cab and just disappeared. Never got my money, so I had that little sucker deported. Sent him back to Philippine Islands. Had a real smart lawyer who said, would you be interested in keeping his name? I said, why, yes, I would. Thank you very much. Because I realized that my grandmother's name was Claudine Hayball. My mother's name is Clara Jean Hayball. And my name was Louise Hayball. I thought, we're going to break this. I didn't even know what I was doing. I had no idea that I was literally breaking a curse at that point. I did not know that. But I said, yes, I will. I'll keep that name, Roman. So here I am, and we're all around, and I'm laughing, and my friend says, what, it's not, that funny. What do you like? I said, well, it just occurred to me that somewhere in the Philippine Islands, there's a little guy about that tall going, that's my wife! That's my wife! And now, after 44 years or something like that, there's probably a tired little fellow over there watching reruns going, that's my wife! That's my wife! Isn't that awful?
So, how did you get Lulu?
I got that in jail.
Really?
I did the first time I went to. Listen, I was crazy, and there was an Indian woman in there who had murdered her husband. She stabbed him to death, and she said, "You make me think of little Lulu in the comic books." She said, "I'm going to call you Lulu." I said, "You call me anything you want to. Just keep your hands off of me, okay?" So I got the name Lulu in jail.
Wow.
Oh, I have wonderful stories. I'm in the process of writing another book.
I don't know about you. I don't know about you, Lulu, but I am worn out.
I told you would be.
I am worn out. So, I wanted to tell you this. As I know that when you were growing up and when you were in that orphanage, even when you were growing up, you didn't feel loved. You didn't think people loved you and all that. But I want you to know that you are so loved by so many people.
Not the time to tell me that right now. I mean, it is the time, actually. It is. It's really good.
You are, because
This year's been real hard for me.
when I say your name to somebody,
Oh,
or anybody says Lulu Roman, the reaction from the person that
wow.
hears your name is a smile and
Oh,
and I love that person. I love
oh,
that
how
woman.
neat.
You
Wow.
are loved more than you'll
That
ever
is
know.
precious. Thank you for that. Because I've been through, this is getting real honest with you here. You know, as you get older, boy, your life changes, it does. And you start to get real serious about, let me mop these eyelashes. Okay. About your life and about, things that you might want somebody to know or whatever. And I've never been able to find out who I am, because my mother was in mental institutions the whole time I was in the orphan's home, from being beaten and hit in the head with skillets and balls and stuff. And never knew who my father was, not even any chance of knowing. And, it's hard to go through your whole life and come to the place where you realize you could be getting close and not know who you are. I know who I am in God. I know that I'm God's child, I do. But, everybody wants to know who you are. I mean, your mom and your dad, that sets a tone for your life, for who you're going to be or what you're going to accomplish or whatever. And for some reason, this last year's been real hard. I think it's because I'm fixing to step over the line of 70 and I'm going, oh, no! And then you get to that place where your body goes, no. Knees, and back and stuff like that. Go, nah. What? But thank you for that. That's precious, honey. That is.
Well, it's the truth.
Thank you. Because I have felt very unloved a lot. I mean, even in this business thing here, I guess what you'd call, the gospel has not laid claim to me because they think I'm country. And the country has not laid claim to me because they call me gospel. And so I've just been wandering around out there trying to find a place. And to hear you say that, you'll never know it, my son. It's very precious, and I'm very thankful and grateful.
Lulu Roman. I loved her when I was
The basket case.
when I was 18 years old. I love that girl.
Thank you.
You know how old I am now?
Uh-uh.
I'm 51 now.
Are you? Wow.
Love her as
Wow.
much today.
Well, honey, I'm going to be 70 in just a couple of weeks.
And we've got a long ways to go.
Boy, I hope so. I don't want to be finished now. I feel like God's not through with me, I feel like there's more to do.
Oh, I have no doubt. No doubt.
Yeah.
Lulu Roman, see her in June. Nashville Palace, Country
Yeah.
for a Cause. Great time.
Thank you. I love you.